Welcome to Betrayal Narratives. It's the first time I read those messages out loud. Balls and tea standing at my kitchen sink with the faucet running and the blinds closed the way I de-rehearsed it in my head. I was under the humming fluorescence of VFW Post 788 in Cedar Rapids, the air thick with crockpot chili, cheap beer, and the powdered sugar breath of a grocery store sheet cake. My mother-in-law's 70th birthday banner sagged above the dance floor like it had already heard the gossip and lost the will to stay taped. Folding chairs screeched every time someone shifted. A kid dropped a plastic fork that spun like a compass needle looking for due north. And there I was, Tom Brennan, 58 HVAC guy, father of 2, husband of 3 decades, holding a plain manila folder in front of everybody I'd ever shared a pew, a picnic, or a Christmas cookie with. Inside that folder were 4 pages I had trimmed with a ruler at 2 in the morning. Edges so straight they looked like they'd been cut by someone who still believed in right angles. I opened my mouth and the first sentence tasted like rust and lilacs because 2 weeks earlier, Dee stood in our kitchen on Edgewood Road breathing that same soap steam while pork chops hissed in a skillet and the evening news mumbled about corn futures. Linda was in the shower humming the way she always did when she felt attractive, the tune drifting down the hall like a postcard from a younger version of herself. Her phone buzzed next to the salt shaker. "I miss your smile." I wiped my hands on a dish towel that had a faded rooster, picked up the phone, and the bathroom fan kept whirring like a tiny engine that could power denial indefinitely. The second text arrived before the first one could evaporate. "I can stop thinking about last Friday in your car." Friday, she'd told me, was month-end reports, overtime, pizza in the break room. I'd eaten meatloaf alone, fallen asleep in the recliner with the Hallmark Channel, asking nobody in particular to believe in Christmas miracles. My stomach dropped the way it does when you misjudge the last stare in the dark. Only the stare was 30 years high. I set the spatula down so I wouldn't fling hot oil across the room like some Shakespearean warning. I answered, pretending to be her. "Come over. My husband isn't home today," whoosh sent. No undo. The shower kept running, pipes rattling their usual Morse code. 20 minutes later, a silver Accord slid to the curb. Mark Jensen stepping out in the same overstarched shirt he wore to tell people their credit scores were improving. I opened the door. He saw my face, and the only sound was snow melting off the gutters onto the concrete. He never made it inside. Linda appeared behind me in her robe, hair dripping like evidence. And the house got so small the furnace couldn't suck enough oxygen to keep us both breathing. She whispered, "Tom, what did you do?" As if I'd torn the roof off instead of simply turning on the light. I told her I thought she already knew. She clutched the phone to her chest like it contained the last copy of her soul, and maybe it did. That night she slept in the guest room, crying the way a cat cries soft, constant, unwilling to be comforted. I sat at the old compact desktop writing everything down. Timestamps, calendar blocks. "It's the red sweater," she said she bought on clearance. But he complimented in a message that ended with, "Someday we have to hide." I printed until the ink ran low. Then I drove to Evelyn Brooks' brick office across from the courthouse and laid it all on her walnut table like a hand I no longer believed could win. She said, "Collect. Don't confront. Don't post. Don't rage, just collect until you know what kind of life you want to breathe into." I collected like a man gathering kindling in October, knowing winter was coming and matches were cheaper than therapy. 2 weeks later, Carol's party invitation arrived. Gold curling font on cream cardstock, the kind of thing you hang on the fridge like nothing behind it could ever spoil. Linda wanted everything perfect. Matching napkins, gluten-free options, a photo slideshow set to Willie Nelson. I wanted the truth to wear its own clothes for once. I spent the night before at the kitchen table trimming screenshots the way I used to cut Gascas precise, oil-free, no fingerprints. I slid them into the folder, no label, no drama, just the facts wearing their Sunday best. The day of the party, the parking lot crunched with salt and gravel, veterans in USS Iowa caps carrying sheet pans of scalloped potatoes. Inside, the hall smelled like chili powder and Old Glory. Kids chased each other between legs that had danced to Vietnam slow songs and Desert Storm fast ones. I tucked the folder under my arm, nodded at neighbors who'd watched my kids grow like corn in July, and waited for coffee to be poured and grace to be said. When the cake was half gone and the slideshow was still clicking through Carol's perm years, I walked to the podium, tapped a plastic spoon against a cup, and the room hushed the way a church does when the organ misses a note. I told them we were there to celebrate 70 years of honesty. Then I opened the folder and gave honesty its turn. I read every message in the same voice I used to explain a cracked heat exchanger. Level.com, no metaphors needed. Linda gasped so sharp it could have sliced the banner down the middle. Mark tried to stand, but Frank from accounting, a man who once loaned me a torque wrench and never asked for it back, put a hand on his shoulder and said, "Sit, you need to hear this." I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I simply let the words walk out of my mouth and find every ear they've been hiding from. When I finished, the silence was so complete the fluorescent lights buzzed like they were trying to apologize for exposing us all. I closed the folder, wished Carol happy birthday, and walked out into the Iowa night, my breath fogging the windshield while the hall behind me leaked yellow light onto the snow like something holy had spilled. I didn't go home. Home was a word that needed redefining. I drove to my son's basement, slept on a sectional that smelled like Doritos and college hope, and woke up lighter than I had in years because the truth may be heavy, but it's the only weight that dosanti get heavier over time. Linda left voicemails, long texts, flowers at the doorstep, like apologies could be arranged and watered. I met her once at Village Inn, where we used to split pecan pie after Sunday services. She cried into a napkin that had the daily specials printed on it, said we could fix this, said it was just texting, just lunch. It's just loneliness that didn't know how to spell its own name. I told her you can't repair a bridge by calling the river imaginary. Then I paid the check and walked out before the coffee got cold. The divorce papers arrived, printed on paper, so crisp it felt like it had never been touched by human indecision. I signed where Evelyn told me, dated it, and mailed a copy to the woman who used to cut my hair in the kitchen so we could afford swim lessons. Some nights I sit on Ryan's back steps watching this guy apologize for being so beautiful after everything. And I realize starting over ISNT, a Paratit S, a porch light you decide to leave on for yourself. If you're listening and your chest feels like a locked furnace, if you're rehearsing conversations that never end the way you need, if you're measuring years in unreturned, I love yous, hear me. You are not too old, too late, or too tired to flip the switch to manual and work the problem. Subscribe if you want more stories that don't end in revenge, but in relief. That don't offer closure, but a door you can finally walk through without carrying the whole house on your back. I'll be here somewhere between the river and the next job site, telling the truth in a voice that doesn't shake anymore. Not because the hurt is gone, but because it finally knows its own name and no longer needs to scream.